Shavua Tov, Agutavoch, and welcome to our program. On Sunday, the 11th day of Nisan, we will celebrate 121 years of the birth of the Rebbe. Many people have said many things about the Rebbe and written many things about the Rebbe. What is the real greatness, if we can say so, of the Rebbe? We will dedicate this program to the greatness of the Rebbe, if we can understand that, and to the achievements of the Rebbe. But first, our story. And we would like to dedicate the story, the customary story, to the Seder of the Rebbe. I was able to be at a few Storim and was able to observe the Rebbe Seder. I would try and come early, and I would get a place right behind the Rashag so that I was immediately in front of the Rebbe. And Baruch Hashem, I was able to do that a few times. The Rebbe came in, and Yesader al Shulchonei, the way he prepared the Seder, he opened the Haggadah, and you saw that he looked exactly on every item how to do the Haggadah. The Rebbe had a silver kaira made out of silver, and as it says, only a Rebbe would have a silver kaira, and on that he would use paper napkins between each matzah. There is a question whether the Rebbe would break the egg or not. I saw that he did. As a matter of fact, I saw that he did, the way the Rebbe was sitting, that to the Rebbe's left was a chair, and the chair was in the way that you put the pillow on it, and the Rebbe would lean on his left side, and he would knock the egg on the side of that chair. Also for karpas, he would use a small onion about this big, and small with its cover, with its golden cover that he would put. And as Chassidim said, that's halacha, not particularly for Pesach. That's halacha in Birchas Hanenin, that if you make a bracha on a full fruit, and this is why the karpas, the onion, was complete. I remember how he did mored. With his right hand, the Rebbe took 3 tablespoons full of mored, not only full, but they had a mountain on them. And he put each one of the tablespoons, he took it with his right hand, and he put it into his left hand. And he did that 3 times. And then he closed his hand, and he squeezed out all the juice of it. And the juice is the strong part of the mored. But I saw that myself. He squeezed out strongly all the juice. And then he took the mored, he made it into a ball, a round ball, and that's what he used for mored and for chazeres. There was also the Alten Rebbe's shisele. There was a silver small plate made of silver that was known as the Alten Rebbe's shisele. This is from the times of the Alter Rebbe. This was a shisele that was on the table of the Alter Rebbe. When they served soup, every person at the table took 3 tablespoons of soup from the shisele into his own plate. The Rebbe took 3 and a little bit. I saw that myself. He took 3. That was the first one. He took 3 and a little bit. When the Rebbe when the Rebbe said l'chaim after the fish, he drank wine, I should say, after the fish. He did not say l'chaim. He just drank the wine by the storim. And I once heard from my brother-in-law, Rabbi Yale, that Rabbi Shmuel asked him that during the first Seder, he doesn't say l'chaim to everyone after the fish. In the morning, he says l'chaim, that I would take the becher, and he would go around the table, you saw that, and he would say l'chaim, 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 l'chaim to everyone around. That was in the morning, the 2 mornings of the 2 days of, which means the Suda after Musaf. However, to the Sdorim, he didn't say l'chaim. So the Biel said that Reb Shmuel, who was sitting to the Rebbe's left, once asked him. And the Rebbe said that the reason he doesn't say l'chaim, because it says that you shouldn't have more than arba cases. And if you dignify the cause so much that you say l'chaim, it may be interpreted as if this is another case. And this is why the Rebbe wants to make sure not to go into that, so he only drinks the wine. I saw as the Rebbe was doing the kazais matzah. I must tell you, difficult to say because nobody would. You saw the shechina. You saw the way he was holding his hands this way, and he was eating the kazais matzah. Nothing broke down. Everything was like picture perfect. He took it and he put it together in his both hands, and he sat like this, and then he leaned on his left side, and he finished it, and he did it very, very quickly, and he finished the kazais matzah. You were able to see that there is something going on. And then the Rebbe would say the Haggadah inside. And one year, in particular, the Rebbe said the Haggadah in a very, very strong fashion. And I remember the Nusach that the Rebbe said the Haggadah. And this was part of the Nusach. Hey du Lashem kitev ki le'elom chasdei. Hey du lelike hoelikim ki le'elom chasdei. Hey du la'adeinei ho'adeinim ki le'elom chasdei. Le'yesei nifloes gedeles levadei ki le'elom chasdei. And at the end, Sheveshifleinu zochar lonu ki le'elom chasdei. Vayifrekeinu mitzoreinu ki le'elom chasdei. Nesin lechem lechol bosor ki le'elom chasdei. Heidu lekel hashomoyim ki le'elom chasdei. That was the Nusach. That one particular year, you were able to hear it, and you saw that there was something special that was going on. Rabbi say, concerning the Rebbe, there were so many things that were said and written about the Rebbe and about the greatness of the Rebbe. I had a dear friend. I learned by him when I was a child, the Menachem Avraham Yakubovich. He was in France, and then he was in Belgium. A wonderful, wonderful Jew. And he said that he heard from non-Lubavitch Chassidim that called the Rebbe Pele HaDoros, the wonder of generations, not only the wonder of this generation, Pele HaDoros, from non-Lubavitch Chassidim. You look, for instance, the many Mechaberim that made many Sforim. How many volumes are there? 1 volume, 2 volumes, 3 volumes, 5 volumes, 10 volumes, which is already a lot. The volumes of the Rebbe's Seder, and of the Rebbe's Sichos, and of the Rebbe's answers are 250 volumes. Totally unprecedented. 250 volumes. Among them are 33 volumes of Igris Kedesh. In the volumes of the Rebbe, on Torah, it's on Nigle and on Chassidus, on Talmud Bavli and on Talmud Yerushalmi, and on Halacha and on Medrashim, and on Kabbalah, and on Chassidus, and on Chkira, and on Digduk, and on Divrei Yemei Yisrael, on everything everything in the Jewish life, the Rebbe answered. You find the Rebbe's opinions and the Rebbe's explanations and so on every subject, in everything, in Nigel, Chassidus, and Kabbalah, as we said before. In the 33 volumes of Igris Kodesh, you find letters of the Rebbe on just about everything under the sun, on relationships between husband and wife, between parents and children, between community activists. And as we know, there are all kinds of activists, and not everybody agrees with the other. And everybody wrote to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe answered. Educators, they are answers there about science, answers there about the refuah. You see, the Rebbe's knowledge in everything under the sun. 250 volumes. The Rebbe says, is this the greatness of the Rebbe? That means that the Rebbe was an old-time genius. They want to say, so what? But that's not the greatness of the Rebbe. Not that, not just that. The greatness of the Rebbe, the specialty of the Rebbe, that he was the Nossi of the generation, and that he cared, as in the Neshama Klolis, he cared for every single person of the generation. Never cared for himself. The whole world is asking a question, and they stand in awe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe never took a day vacation. To the Lubavitcher Chosid, that doesn't really constitute the greatness of the Rebbe. But we'll talk about why the Rebbe never took a day vacation. The Rebbe cared for every single person in the generation. Mentioned before about the Bikiyas of the Rebbe. And again, that is not the greatness of the Rebbe. That's one of the things that the Rebbe possessed. Talking about Bikiyas. Just want to tell you one story which was already told, but we'll tell it in short. There was a question, a person came with a Ne'em Elimelech. They reprinted the Ne'em Elimelech in 2 Kerochim. And they put in a lot of work of all the Mother Mekemis. And one of the brothers who did it came to the Rebbe Sunday morning. And he wasn't going to ask the Rebbe anything. But when they came over to the Rebbe with the 2 Kerochim, the Rebbe said, Favos 2 Kerochim? Why 2 volumes? And as people understood later that it's used sometimes for shmirah, for security in the house, the Rebbe wanted to know why did you print it in 2 volumes? But since he saw that there was an interest of the Rebbe, so he says to the Rebbe that they tried to figure out all the Mother Mekemis. But there's one Mother Mokim that they couldn't figure out. They asked the Chaim Kanievsky. They couldn't figure out. There was a Mother Mokim in the Rambam, and they couldn't figure out where the Rambam says it. So the Rebbe asks this individual, can you show me where? So he says, yes, it's in the beginning. So he shows the Rebbe. The Rebbe takes one look, and the Rebbe says, he's in the Rakedome from Pirush Rambam of Mishnayos, where the Rambam asks this and this question. How come it's in one place, another place? Immediately. I heard a story from the Yosef Tzvi Segal, als angesund. And I wanted to find, where is it in the Pirush Mishnayos? I opened up. The Akdama Pirush Mishnayos it's printed in Gemara's Berachos. And it's very, very tiny letters on a whole page. And it took me a long time after I knew. It took me a long time to find it. But the Rebbe said immediately. I heard later when this came back to the Chaim Kanievsky said he always knew about the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Geinus, but this he didn't imagine. All over, Umidum, they told the story that Rav Soloveitchik was by the Rebbe for Nichum Avelim, for the Rebbe Tzimchane. And the Rebbe mentioned the Rambam. And Rav Soloveitchik was as Eid was kennenlernen and said to the Rebbe, Toaz Rambam. So the Rebbe says the research Rambam. So Rav Soloveitchik says, that's what I heard. Lubavitcher Rebbe, Sinit Toaz Rambam. And he knew what he was talking about. Later, the Rebbe sent him a message. It's a Rambam in Pirush Mishnayos, which nobody even paid attention to. The Rebbe knew everything. There was a Jew who said that the Rebbe knew alle ungarische shalische tshuvas for him. That generally everybody knows that there's famous shalische tshuvas for him. The Rebbe knew all the shalische tshuvas for him, everything. But that is not the greatness of the Rebbe. The greatness of the Rebbe is that the Rebbe is the Nasi of the generation, and he cared and cares for every single person in the generation. Years ago, there was a story circulating that was made famous by Gabriel Cohn. Gabe Cohn was the editor of the Jewish Post and Opinion. And when they went into Yechidus, the Rebbe asks him, is there a column in your newspaper about the portion of the week? And Gabe Cohn kind of said that his readers are not really into that. They want to know social news, politics. They're not into the portion of the week. So the Rebbe said to him, listen, there could be a reader whose only connection with Yiddishkeit is your newspaper. And therefore he needs, when he reads your newspaper, he needs also a column about the portion of the week, because that's his only connection with Yiddishkeit. So now the Rebbe is worried about a Jew who reads a newspaper, a secular newspaper, because he's not looking for a connection. But the Rebbe is looking for a connection. And the Rebbe is looking for a connection with him too. Because he, to the Rebbe, is part of Klal Yisrael, like everyone else. No one is better, no one is worse. All Jews are the same. The Rebbe took over the Nesius, the official Nesius, Yud Shvat of Shin Yud Aleph, the beginning of 1951. The Jewish community at that time was broken. It was 6 years after the Holocaust. Everyone was a survivor. Everyone was worried, how do we survive now? How do we finish the day? How do we finish the week? And the Jewish community was divided generally into two parts. The Jew who was observant already, and the Jew who was not observant. But we should add, the Jew who was not observant, we should add one more word, yet. The Rebbe wanted to bridge the gap between these Jews, between these two kinds, because we were standing then at chas v'sholem, the possibility that the Jew, and you heard it many times years ago, that the Jew who was observant, he's going to continue to be observant. He's going to continue to eat matzah on Pesach, and he will observe Shabbos, he will put on film, and she will light Shabbos candles, and so on. The Jew who was not observant will little by little will diminish. So the Rebbe said that there's a need here to bridge the gap between the two Jewish communities. But the one who is not yet observant is a survivor. And he doesn't, in his mind, he's worried about his wife, about his children, about surviving, about finishing the month, about making a living. And the Rebbe bridged the gap. He sent emissaries, shluchim, to Morocco at first, because there was a big need there in northern Africa. Then he sent shluchim to Australia, because there were many Jews, refugees who came after the war. And little by little, he bridged the gap between these two Jewish communities, the Jew who was observant and the Jew who was not yet observant. Baruch Hashem today, the Lubavitcher Shluchim and emissaries and Chassidim all over the world. There isn't a big town in the world that doesn't have a Lubavitch Shliach, a Beis Chabad. And Lubavitch Shluchim all over the world work selflessly. And they have one thing in common, to bring every Jew together and to worry for every single Jew. There was a Jew, a Fogelman, Olav Sholem, from Worcester, and I heard it from him a few times. And he said, Rebbe Herschel Fogelman, he said that when the Rebbe came here in 1941, and he was for bringing in 770. Whether it was the first Farbrengen or a little later, he said something to the extent of, wir wollen anfangen mit Messibe Shabbos und wir wollen einnehmen die ganze Welt. We will start with Messibe Shabbos and we will conquer the whole world. And the Fogelman said that at that time, not everybody understood what he was talking about. Conquer the world. Europe, he said, was burning. You couldn't send a postcard to Europe. Forget about anything else. You couldn't communicate with Europe. It's time of the war. Our Rebbe in 1941, in the middle of the war, he saw through the ashes and through the Holocaust and through the concentration camps on the other side 50 years later. And he saw what we have to do to build and rebuild the Jewish community. And maybe the people didn't understand what he was talking about in 1941. But the Rebbe knew exactly what he was talking about. And that's exactly what he did. And Baruch Hashem, little by little, the Rebbe has sent his army of people all over the world to bridge the gap between the Jewish communities and to bridge the gap between Jews. There was a Jew, there is, no sein gesund, Rabbi Yosef Menachem Deutsch. He's the Rosh Yeshiva and the Gera Yeshiva. He spoke once at the Simla Rambam. More than once. And once he told a story. He told the story that he knows the family. There was a Jew who wasn't well. I'm picking this story because this encapsulates the message of the Rebbe and what the Rebbe does. He wasn't well, so much that he saw that he left this world, and he was put in front of the heavenly tribunal, the Beis Shalmailo, and they checked his ways, and they saw all his life he was not observant. And since all his life he was not observant, they paskened that he has to go to Gehenna. He wasn't observant, no Shabbos, no Kashrus, no Tefillin, nor anything. Before they had a chance to finish the psak, a very distinguished Jew appeared in court, in the heavenly court. And he says to them, why are you doing this? He's a Tinnik Shenishba. He didn't know better. Why he didn't observe Shabbos? He didn't know that he has to observe Shabbos. And why he didn't eat kosher? He's a Tinnik Shenishba. He's a child that was Nishba, means that there were those who got a hold of him. He was a prisoner, since he's a child, a spiritual prisoner. And he continued to say, what you should do, make him healthy again, send him back to this world, give him a chance to learn, and then you can judge him. And the Beis Shalmailo said, you know something? We'll do that. They paskened that he should come back to this world. And little by little he opened his eyes, and he recuperated. He remembered the scene. So now he has to learn about Yiddishkeit. He doesn't know where to go. So he went into the nearest Beis Chabad. Rabbi Yosef Menachem Deutsch tells the story. He says he knows the family. They told him the story. He goes into the nearest Beis Chabad, and he faints. Went into Beis Chabad and he fainted. What's this? When he woke up, he said, he went into Beis Chabad, he saw a picture. He says, this is the man. This is the man who rescued me. This is the man who said, what do you want from him? He's a Tinnik Shenishba. So the Rebbe cared for everyone. Cared and cares. So many people come to the Hill until today. Thousands and thousands of people from all over the world. Because they get help to the Hill. Sometimes I go and I see a Jew, a Chassid Shadid, but he's not a Lubavitch Chassid. And I come over, I talk to him sometimes. And many times you hear, how often do you come here, I asked. He says, whenever I need something, als ich darf etwas, komm ich du, und ich werde geholfen. Here, this is the place where everybody's helped, was helped, and is helped today. And the Rebbe cared and cares for everyone, regardless of race and religion. The Rebbe came out with a big campaign for Sif Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Neach. What is the depth of that? Because we're coming to Mashiach. The Rambam does write the halacha that we have an obligation to all the people in the generation. To kol boy elam. The Jew has an obligation to kol boy elam, which means to all the people in the generation. And if you look throughout the generations, Gedolei Yisrael, you don't hear that they did that they were mekayim that halacha. And for the simple reason, they weren't able to. Circumstances did not allow them to. They couldn't go to the poets and ask the poets for Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Neach. The poets would put them in jail before they turned around. They were afraid for reasons of security and so on. The Rebbe in our generation started a campaign for Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Neach. And somebody would ask the question, Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Neach, you're talking about a Chassidish Rebbe. What does it have to do? The Rebbe cared for all the people in the generation. We once had a dinner, and we asked Ed Koch, the former mayor, to speak. He was the guest speaker. It was a large dinner. And he said, I'm going to tell you a story. It was the day before Yom Kippur. I'm going to 770 because I'm going to get a piece of honey cake and a blessing for a sweet year from the Rebbe. And who do I see there? I see Benjamin Ward, my police commissioner. Benjamin Ward was Ed Koch's police commissioner, and he was black. And I say to him, Ben, what are you doing here? And Ben says, I came to get my honey cake and my blessing from the rabbi. L'chol bo'elam, for everyone. The Rebbe cared and cares for everyone. And Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Neach is in order to get everyone. We live in the last generation of Golus and the first generation of Geulah. And this is why it is our obligation to do the Pachim Ktanim, the small vessels, and to take care of them before the coming of Mashiach. And this is the Rebbe's message to everyone. In 1991, a correspondent, I believe from CNN, asked the Rebbe, what is your message to the Rebbe? And the Rebbe said that Mashiach is coming, but we can bring him closer, and we can bring him closer by doing more acts of goodness and kindness. It's a very, very well known and publicized piece or clip. And Chassidim were thinking, the Rebbe said you should do more goodness and kindness. The Rebbe could have said, arguably, do more Torah and mitzvahs. And the answer is, Torah and mitzvahs is, yes, a wonderful thing, can be better. But that message is for Jews. The Rebbe was giving a universal message. Goodness and kindness is a universal message for kol bo'elam, for everyone, that everyone can do. Torah mitzvahs is for Jews. Goodness and kindness is for everyone, including Jews. It would be wonderful if we all did more goodness and kindness, which means tzedakah v'chesed, goodness and kindness, teva chesed. The Rebbe's message is universal, because we are the last generation of Golus, the first generation of Geulah. The Mashiach is coming now. There are little bits of residue left of the Golus, and we have to put the finishing touches on the Golus and go out together to the Geulah Ha'amitis v'Yashlemu. And that is exactly what is happening now. Ube'agolo didan, uve'simcha uve'tuv levov, uve'tiva nira ve'anigla, u'lamato me'asar atfochim, uve'chesed, uve'rachamim, ve'tekef, u'miyad, mamesh.